So, I mean, I think Christianity is good in the face of other cultures. I mean, isn't
Yes.
Christianity technically supposed to be like, we're really good people because the Romans were so, vile, immoral, and despicable, and thus we're the new, and we're the best. But also,
But
we're anti-Roman politics. I mean, there's a whole political undertone to the Christian religious movement, and look what happened. The Romans adopted it, absorbed it, exploited it, enhanced it, and now we have this Polak who children are jumping up and down, excited. Yay, we got a new pope! Hooray! My life is complete! Yay! It's so cringe. The guy covered up pedophiles and sex rapes of children. The guy covers up. That's why he's made the pope, because he covered up the abuse of all the other popes or the
no,
cardinals.
but
So
they're not the popes are Christian. The Jews, crypto Jews that took over the consumer
see,
Rome.
that's ridiculous. It's ancient.
They taken over
They're crypto Jews. You know how crazy that is? That's insane. These people are running the longest running scam in human history. It's ancient. It's a Roman court. That is a Roman king. That's what the Pope is.
Can you calm down? You woke me up.
Hey, Agamemnon, do you have any light
Did you
bulbs?
did you guys see the news 2 days ago?
To make you a moderator.
What the rabbi did?
Honestly, I don't know if you have to.
Well, I believe the unreliable. I'm about to go shopping.
Did you guys see the news?
Yeah. So can you tell me what's wrong with the Pope?
He's a crypto Jew. All of them are.
He's what?
He's a crypto Jew. All of them are crypto Jews, and it's documented as well. They've taken over.
But what's a crypto Jew? What do crypto Jews believe in, Vasa?
They're Talmudistic. They want to take over the world. There's like breeding rights, something called breeding rights. That's how they took over. I like it as well. During the Napoleonic War, what the Rothschilds did was they took over about 57% of the British Empire's economical system, and then they gained access to breeding rights, and the Windsor family, which is the current monarchy, is now Jewish. It's with Germanic roots. And they did the same thing with the popes and what were those red motherfuckers called? Not the Pope, the ones underneath those. They dress in all red. Anyways, they're systematically chosen from Jewish families with Jewish heritage. And then when the Templars first formed the Freemasons, there were no Jews allowed in. And then a Jew made his way to the Freemasons and the ban. And now the Freemasons are also all Jews, majority Jews, and they've taken out of the media system. Unfortunately, it's a fact that they do control all these nations, presidencies, all their crypto spies in place of political powers and high-ranking positions in the army, in the media, in the economical system.
You do realize if I go to my local Freemason hall here in Chicago, like half of the people are homeless, right? I mean, you're not talking about people who are on the cutting edge of finance and law and politics. You're talking about a majority of the people who are just, people looking for information about God.
They can't be homeless. The last pope, the late pope, was promoting homosexuality, which is a sin.
No, it wasn't homosexuality. I don't know why you're getting that.
There's a video on YouTube. He was promoting. The late pope was promoting homosexuality. He was supporting LGBTQ+, whatever the fuck it is.
He wasn't promoting it. He was saying that, they shouldn't be fucking assholes to gay people.
Okay, so why actually he was promoting? He said it's okay to be gay.
No, he never said it was. He never said it was okay to be gay. He never said it wasn't sin. He just said God judges people, and you guys should be nice to everyone.
a Jewish family or a Jewish stock.
Bro, I'm Irish.
Mate, I know your Sam's friend, but this is what they did since their Talmudistic cult, satanic cult religion. They want to spread
The
misinformation.
Talmudistic conspiracy theorist.
Are you allowing it, Andre? What's going on? It's anti-Semitism or whatever.
Yeah, no anti-Semitism allowed here. Sorry, bastard.
No, this is anti-Semitic. This is what's written in their book and their Talmudistic.
Yeah, there's no evidence at all that the Pope promoted
Well, actually, there is.
homosexuality.
There's
There's no evidence at all that Sully's are Jews, so stop promoting anti-Semitic nonsense here.
Also,
It also doesn't follow that just because someone shares the same opinion as what you think Jews have broadly, that they have it for the same reasons. So I think you're just jumping to random conclusions.
You said because I was friends with Sam, that makes me a Jew.
Guilt by association.
this
Oh, wow. So they're stupid.
chat link is
That's like saying
promoting
you're a Jew because you do jujitsu or something. That's just dumb.
Okay.
So subject is Christianity versus atheism. I
Oh.
guess anybody's free to give the best argument they have against Christianity or against atheism.
Ooh, negative apologetics. Me likey. I like that.
Well, Jesus was a Jewish mystic, not the Son of God. He probably smoked weed. He probably got high. And he was a Kabbalist. And everything in the Bible, a lot of it is mysticism and Kabbalism. Uh-oh, Dr. Vossit's triggered. They're all Jews. There's Jews everywhere. There's Jews coming out of my air vents. There's a Jew in my refrigerator. There's a Jew in my basement. It's a Jew reading the Talmud in the tree. Look out, there's a Jew in the tree reading the Talmud. He's reading the Talmud.
Last warning. Christianity. Give the best argument against Christianity or for Christianity.
The Jews, right?
The Jews.
What's that motherfucker?
What a piece of trash that guy was, man. Good call.
Yeah, that guy's great. And the reason he hates Sam is because Sam likes to pick on him. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I typically don't like to give arguments that are specifically targeted at Christianity. Whereas, like, I just give you an argument for anything.
Can I guess what you might do, Sully, if perhaps you're going to do some upbeat compare and contrast of worldviews or not?
Well, you're saying I can purposely that.
Not consciously, maybe it's stuck around in my mind subconsciously, maybe. I'm reading the Blackwell's Companion to the Problem of Evil right now. And he had a whole thing about it. So I'll let my brain link it to you somehow, but okay, yeah.
That's where he's saying he doesn't think the problem of evil is successful, right? Or at least the logical problem. Something like that. Well, he thinks all of them, I think, are unsuccessful.
Well, I think he's, as far as I read, he's mainly addressing Roe. The Roe's argument doesn't go through, I think.
Neither does Draper's.
What did you say, Andre?
Neither does Draper's. So Roe frames his argument in terms of pointless evils, as in premise 1, pointless evils exist. Premise 2, if God exists, pointless evils doesn't exist. Conclusion, God doesn't exist. Well, then the burden of proof is on him to show pointless evils exist. And none of the
That's where-
evidence he's provided demonstrate that. In fact, the vast majority of people disagree with him in that survey. The people don't share that sort of intuition. And then Draper is a Bayesian argument that evil is more expected on the indifference hypothesis compared to Christianity, where classic theism, conclusion, classic theism is false, or something like that. But then Draper ignores that the indifference hypothesis doesn't predict conscious suffering at all. It just says the universe is indifferent. Well, if the universe is indifferent, why should consciousness exist at all? There's no reason.
Right. So I think, if memory serves, is the point those people, especially when they run evidential type problems of evil. So the main point I think what they're trying to make is that on atheism or specifically materialism or whatever, like it's possible and it's not a problem. It's just an observation we make. And on Christianity, supposedly, there is a problem. You have to come up with a theology or defense, right, to explain why a good, all-powerful God and evil coexist. So,
basically, I was thinking about this the other day, and
But okay, just because you have to come up with a theodicy might not be a very good critique, because it depends if the theodicy is expected given classical theism, or if the theodicy is completely unexpected given your initial axioms. So if the theodicy just follows naturally from your initial axioms, then it doesn't lower the probability. Okay, and then in response to the second thing, you said that you would expect it under atheism? Like, you would just expect conscious stuff under atheism?
No.
It's not so surprising.
not expected, but it's possible and it wouldn't be a problem. There's no contradiction there. It's just an observation. Well, they're just observing that evolution functions this way, right? So,
Oh, okay. Well, I guess the basic idea is that it's not unexpected given atheism or naturalism. But I guess,
yeah, I don't really like that. I don't really like the Bayesian framing. I was thinking the other day in a more like abstract way about this, that there's this thing that people say where they'll say all the arguments for atheism basically boil down to the problem of evil, and all the arguments for theism basically boil down to this analogous problem of good, quote unquote. And the idea is like, people say on the atheist side, if God exists, why is there all this bad stuff? And then on the theist side, they'll say, if God didn't exist, why would there be all this good stuff? Psychophysical harmony, fine tuning, whatever. And I was thinking about it in terms of, I don't think that framing is 100% correct. Like, I don't really think that's true, that they all boil down to that. But if you think in those terms, you could imagine just trying to come up with tiebreakers, right? And I don't know, I had a couple thoughts on this. Like, so one thing the atheist might say is that, on omnitheism, God can't face like trolley problems. There can't be like trade-offs, right? And so that's what the atheist offers as a tiebreaker. And then it seems like what the theist has to offer in return to that is free will. Like that seems to be the strongest thing. And then the question is like, okay, is free will worth it?
exactly.
Given like the Holocaust. And all this other shit.
Okay, so what's his name? Oh my gosh, I cannot speak. Francesco Cotti, I think, in the Black Book Companion talks about libertarian free will defenses, and I was not only supposed to argue for libertarian free will, but also the value proposition that it's such a high value that God allows certain things to obtain because that is such a high value, but also the impossibility thesis that it's impossible for God to instantiate a world where evil does not obtain given free age, right? Because he cannot force people to freely act. But yeah, I mean, for people who deny libertarian free will, that's not going to be a defense. That's optional.
The thing is that, like, I kind of want to grant it as a response. So if somebody says, "Hey, look, there can't be a trolley problem for a trionic God," and then they bring up sort of free will as an idea where it's like, well, see, this is something where he actually does kind of have to allow for a trade-off to have like morally significant freedom. You have to allow for the potential for evil, and that's kind of a trade-off, right? But then it's just like
Sully, super quick. What do you mean by trade-off?
Like a trolley problem scenario, there's like an acceptance of like, you're basically picking between like the lesser of two evils.
It's like, this is shit, but this is worse, kind of. Okay.
Yeah, like a trade-off that allows some evil to exist. Like God has to allow some evil to exist to get something else. So,
I can think of two quick fixes for that, but I think Andre wants to start. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I wanted to say in response to Dutch is, you don't have to solely appeal to the free will theodicy because the free will theodicy is compatible with soul building theodicies, and it's also compatible with other theodicies. It's like we'll say, oh no, you have to appeal to either this one or that one or this one. No, all of these theodicies are compatible with each other.
Sure, but I think there's something like soul building and free will are like connected, almost like they kind of go hand in hand.
Right, and so are regular.
Why couldn't you could just prove faith? Because the idea is like you could prove really good souls in the media, right? He could just create the souls as good as he likes them to be, or as good as he wants them to be. But to really, there's something about building the soul through free will that is like valuable.
Yeah, because I don't think robots have any.
Sorry.
So
My bad. It's my idea. I want to get shit out, but I need to try to let other people finish it. Go ahead. I'll write it down.
yeah, and as far as the value of free will, I don't think there's any value to creation without free will. At least significantly decreased without significant free will. Because if you create entities and you predetermine them to be a certain way, you're basically just creating robots.
Insignificant there.
Yeah, but then the question is like, why is that bad? Yeah.
It's going to be an intuition. At the end of it, people are going to appeal to their personal intuitions. I have the personal intuition that it's valuable that I get to make free decisions. That's like the biggest value.
I agree with you. I agree with you, right? But then the question is like, is that worth the amount of like conscious suffering that that it requires for the trade-off? Like, is my freedom really so valuable that I would like allow a Holocaust to happen?
That's a great question.
Again, that's going to depend on extraneous considerations. So, for instance, if God can repair certain harms that come about as a result of things like the Holocaust, and we have reasons to suppose that an omnipotent entity has greater power to repair harms or to alleviate negative outcomes that result from things like the Holocaust, then if God has that power, then he can allow things like very poignant evils to happen.
It's not that he doesn't have the power, right? It's whether or not it's like, again, it's like, is the juice worth the squeeze with respect to free will, right? Like, okay, we grant you like free will is valuable, right? But then, is it so valuable that it's worth all these other consequences?
Yeah, okay. But Sally, super quick. You're limited to the scope of this life. I think Andre and many Christians are going to say in this afterlife there can be redemptive stuff via purgatory or greater goods that last for eternity, or vastly outweighing the temporary suffering, such like a Holocaust. Those seems very bad right now in time.
Yeah, so you're doing a very.
If you're like a universalist,
you're not taking into account. So
if you think most people go to hell, it's not very. And if you think most people go to hell, that's not really a good response.
Yeah, I don't think most people go to hell. But the difference between you and a Christian, Sully, would be you're doing a very simplistic analysis. You're saying, oh well, the value of free will might be outweighed by the value by the harms caused by a Holocaust. As opposed to a Christian who's taking other extraneous considerations into account, such as, well, look, maybe there's also value in having an eternal existence. Maybe God can alleviate certain harms which come about as a result of the Holocaust.
I'm not quite following.
What I'm saying is you're looking at the trade-off between the value from free will and the harms which come about as a result of evils.
Sure, which is like all evils, by the way. It's not, so it's not much of the Holocaust. That's like an extreme example. But like, that's if you took like, okay, compare like.
I'm saying that's a really myopic analysis. It doesn't take other extraneous considerations into account, such as God's ability to alleviate certain harms from the Holocaust or to repair, psychological damage from the Holocaust survivors.
Yeah, but if that's the expectation, then you would think like he would have been mitigating the harms like during the Holocaust,
Yeah. So Andre, super quick.
Why wouldn't he do that? Right?
he has an infinite ability to mitigate the harms after your death.
Are you a universalist now, right? Like a Batman?
I don't have firm views on that particular subject.
Well, I don't think Catholics are, but maybe you're allowed to believe it. But there's this person called a philosopher, what's her name? Marilyn McCord Adams, who actually claims that universalism must be true because otherwise, like Sully said, God is unjust and it's not quote unquote. Because everybody, he needs to defeat evil, right? And it needs to be defeated and redeemed. I'm curious how she's going to work it out. So, yeah, I'm at least empathetic to that notion or that intuition, right? Because some people just are supposed to exist and then they somehow end up in hell. Like there's no redemption whatsoever. Well, actually, like